Now, Renee, this includes further limits now to officer use of force.
Right, Leah, DOJ officials stressing these latest court-ordered reforms limit and even eliminate certain types of force. Now, MPD Chief Brian O'Hara says the department has been on track to meet these requirements before they were filed in court. These are the scenes that led Minneapolis to this moment. A federal consent decree now joining the state in prohibiting MPD officers from using tear gas to disperse crowds without direct authorization from the chief of police.
That's something that became effective in December of 2022, so that's already policy. I think the situation would be different if we were getting into this, on a blank slate. We're not.
Federal officials did take state limits on taser use a step further, mandating officers not only avoid but cannot target someone's face, head, neck, or other sensitive areas.
It is difficult. Obviously, people are moving. But again, this is something also where the technology is evolving as well.
He says MPD is in the process of buying new tasers that, by design, cannot be deployed directly into a person's body, nor allow more than one probe to be deployed at once.
And eventually that'll be the standard in policing around the country.
The DOJ also mandates officers avoid using force against someone who is already restrained. They also must avoid handcuffing anyone under the age of 14.
That's just common sense. But it does not say that, if you get a 13-year-old that's committing a violent crime, that's armed with a gun, that did something like that you cannot handcuff them. That's absolutely not true.
I don't know. I'm not really hungry right now. I'm just really sick. I'm like falling asleep right now.
The majority of that is either...
I don't fucking feel good.
It's in draft policy that's gone...
It's really fucking cranky and do not fucking feel good right now.
Handcuffing you?
Yes.
I think I'm just gonna go get offline for a little while. I just don't fucking feel good.
Also requiring officers to report it when they believe they witnessed another officer misusing force. And MPD is required to create and sustain a force investigations unit.
Just tired of fucking dealing with the bullshit on here.
There wasn't a set timeline by the court on when this consent decree has to be resolved. But the chief did say it'll take at least a few years. He says he plans to see it through, calling it an honor to be in his position in this historic moment for the city. Live in Minneapolis tonight, Renee Cooper, 5 Eyewitness News.
News tonight at 5. St. Paul police say multiple people were arrested in an alleged kidnapping today. Officers responded
this
afternoon to this residence. This is off Payne Avenue near Minnehaha Avenue East, and you can see the St. Paul SWAT team was called in. They were there called to help the officers once it was confirmed this kidnapping call was legitimate. And they were able to get everyone out without issue. 3 people were arrested, and the person believed to be the victim was taken to the hospital for evaluation. An ongoing investigation is still happening here. Today, the U.S. Army confirmed a soldier from Minnesota died in a crash overseas last month. Private First Class Edwin Thomas died in a flight-related accident December 19th on Camp Humphreys in South Korea. Thomas was 20 years old and a native of Egan. He joined the Army in 2023. He'd been assigned to Bravo Company since last April.
Oh, that's so sad. Such a young kid.
Helicopter repairer at the time of his death. Jeez. In a statement, Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Snipes said Edwin was a valued member of the Nightmare Battalion family. His smile was infectious, work ethic unparalleled, and dedication unrivaled. We will honor our time with him as he left an indelible mark on our battalion and his company. And a visitation for Thomas will be held next Thursday, followed by funeral services the next day. News around the nation. Former President Jimmy Carter's life and legacy is being celebrated today. His body was flown to Washington, D.C., and now will lie in state at the Capitol until his memorial service later this week. Kevin Doran is here now with a closer look at the ceremony. Kevin?
Yeah, Jimmy Carter's state funeral has moved to Washington after observances in his native Georgia. Carter's casket will be in the Capitol Rotunda for 2 days ahead of his funeral, so a grateful nation can pay tribute to a public servant. Former President Jimmy Carter landing at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland today, making his final trip to Washington, D.C. The flight's call sign, Special Mission 39, for the 39th president. A 21-gun salute for Carter, America's longest living president. He died last month at the age of 100.
Oh, that's amazing.
Great casket leaving the Carter Center in Atlanta this morning.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
He will lie in state in the Capitol Rotunda, the same building where he took the oath of office 48 years ago. The peanut farmer from Plains, Georgia, becoming the 39th president. He was the first president to step out of the presidential limousine and walk down Pennsylvania Avenue to the White House. Today, his family doing the same, but this time walking to the Capitol as his casket is pulled by 8 horses. The procession is designed to mirror his inauguration parade. For 2 days, he will lie in state in the Capitol Rotunda. Carter's state funeral is at the National Cathedral on Thursday. All living presidents are expected to attend. President Biden will give the eulogy. Carter will then be flown back to Georgia. He'll be buried next to his late wife, Rosalind, outside their home.
Couldn't find a better person to give a eulogy to.
So very much prepared for what came next.
A good life, but he was a great example. The Capitol Rotunda will be open until midnight, allowing the public to pay respects to Jimmy Carter. People can visit until Thursday morning before his funeral.
Hello, Henry.
Kevin Doran reporting. Thank you, Kevin. Now, President-elect Donald Trump. He's in Florida at Mar-a-Lago, where he held a wide-ranging news conference today. Initially, he responded to various legal matters that he is still facing as he prepares to take office. But our chief political reporter, Tom Hauser, is here to tell us that he went much further on a variety of topics, Tom.
Yeah, he sure did, Leah. The subject matter of President-elect Trump's news conference was so wide-ranging, it's hard to know where to start. He criticized the sentencing that will happen in his hush money legal case on Friday. But that's the beginning. President-elect Donald Trump had a lot on his mind Tuesday, less than 2 weeks before his inauguration. He had a warning for Hamas if they don't release the remaining hostages taken when they attacked Israel.
And then at the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out.
He also said one of his first acts in office will be to reverse an offshore oil drilling ban just signed by President Biden.
I will reverse it immediately. It will be done immediately. And we will drill, baby, drill.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
Trump made brief remarks about the late President Jimmy Carter, whose body arrived in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, but mostly in regard to the issue of the Panama Canal, which Trump wants to reclaim for the U.S. as a vital national interest.
Look, he was a good man. I knew him a little bit, and he was a very fine person, but that was a big mistake. Giving the Panama Canal to Panama was a very big mistake.
As for the fate of people convicted in connection with January 6th riots at the U.S. Capitol, he says many will likely be pardoned.
People that did some bad things were not prosecuted. You know, I see it all the time, and you see it too. People that were doing some bad things weren't prosecuted, and people that didn't even walk into the building are in jail right now. So we'll be looking at the whole thing, but I'll be making major...
Let's go start dinner.
President-elect Trump also didn't rule out using the military to take control of Greenland, where the U.S. has a major military installation, but he did rule out using the military to make Canada part of the U.S. He also floated the idea of renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
A little bit of...
How that would be done. Again, he takes office in 13 days. Leah?
All right, 13 days. Tom Hauser reporting for us. Thank you. In World News Tonight with David Muir, we'll have much more on how President Carter was being plus the latest on the life-threatening windstorm.
You want my dinner, baby?
Wildfires in Southern California. All of that coming up after this. Today, there's a new update now in the lead up to the Minnesota legislative session. And this involves a seat for Senate District 60, covers part of Minneapolis. The seat was left open when former Senate Majority Leader Kerry Dietzig died last month. And now a resident in the district has filed a lawsuit claiming Democratic candidate Mohammed Jaffer.
Everybody talks about Carry On. I couldn't fucking get it. I couldn't even I watched probably not even 20 minutes of it. I couldn't get into it.
Lived in their district at least 6 months prior to an election. The primary for Senate District 60 is set for next Tuesday, with the special election coming up January 28th. And there is another special election also happening that same day. That's for House District 40B. That spot open now after a judge ruled that the Democrat, Curtis Johnson, who won the election, did not live in the district. In more Minnesota headlines, more than 100 workers at an Eden Prairie company will be laid off soon. IV Media notified the state that it will be permanently cutting 122 positions within 14 days of February 24th. And those do include on-air hosts and other broadcasting jobs. IV Media is the parent company of Shop HQ, a home shopping network. The owners told the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development that these layoffs are due to, quote, changes in the direction of our business.
Really?
Happening tonight, Minneapolis police will...
Oh no, I tried watching it like 4 times and I just could not get into it, so...
A ceremony is planned to welcome the biggest group of community service officers and cadets in 5 years. 24 cadets are all part of this. They attend the MPD Academy, will complete